on any topic you want. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Sarah Thompson, Chief Product Officer of BlueStar. And Sarah, I probably fall into that camp of being afraid to ask the question because it might be a dumb question with regards to Microsoft 365. But I will say that I learned more than I've ever known about the topic in 10 minutes talking to you yesterday. So you are now my de facto expert. And I know that you have tremendous experience with it, maybe since the onset of Microsoft 365. I know BlueStar is a Microsoft partner. What do we need to know?
Well, thanks so much, Rob. And I want to say thanks to the Masters Conference for having me speak on this panel with my esteemed colleagues. I'm Sarah Thompson. I'm Chief Product Officer for BlueStar Case Solutions. And we handle and consult on Microsoft 365 e-discovery on a daily basis. And so we're really in the weeds. I personally have had a lot of experience with the product starting about 5 years ago when I led the first software integration into the e-discovery platform, legal hold preservation capabilities. And so from an API, a PowerShell, a scripting standpoint, to the actual, how do you use it on a daily basis point of view, that's where our experience comes from. I've been in the legal tech industry for over 15 years from the software side, working a lot of the review, collection, and preservation platforms you're probably familiar with. So I'm going to take this topic and I'm going to really approach it from a technical point of view. We've had a lot of questions come in and we're going to kind of field them as we go through. So I'm just going to start by quickly introducing you to BlueStar. BlueStar is the company that I'm with, and we do, like I mentioned, a lot of consulting for 365. So if you do have any questions, feel free to contact us, or you can find me on LinkedIn for any questions. We are a full service e-discovery shop that is located across the country, in Chicago, LA, Austin, and New York. So I'm going to go ahead and get started now. Let's talk about why is 365 one of the top considerations for 2021 in our industry. And that's because, well, a lot of people are using it. Over 680,000 corporations in the United States utilize Office 365, or now it's known as Microsoft 365. And so it's going to be something that in any aspect of our profession, you're probably going to encounter at some point. And it's important to know, what can it do? What doesn't it do? So that you can understand how you can best leverage that capability. So these 650,000 companies that have this Office 365, one of the nice things about it is that there's this built-in e-discovery capabilities. And so you can go from anywhere, right from the beginning of the EDRM process all the way to the end. So from legal hold notification and classification all the way to production, not trial presentation, but production. So this is a really groundbreaking thing that Microsoft's presented to our community, to have that built-in functionality. And there's a lot of great benefits to having that functionality. And mainly it's that, if you are preserving data and performing the e-discovery before the data is actually moved to another location, copied, collected, etc., it really does allow you to do a few things. One, you're really reducing your cost here. You're leveraging your existing Microsoft licensing, and you're able to, perform investigations, place preservation holds without any extra costs. But it also lowers your risk. The risk, that you have when you actually collect to preserve, when you are creating copies of data that is, then stored on at another location for a certain period of time. And that data is generally not subject to your retention policy. So as we've seen in the past in several notable matters, this can be something that can really get us in trouble later down the line. And also you have business continuity. So when you place these holds or utilize this functionality in Microsoft, you're the custodian, the person that you're placing on hold, any person that is involved in this matter, they're not going to be bothered by hey, I need to take over your computer and collect your email. It's going to be all done in the background with or without their knowledge. So a lot of really great benefits. And this is why we are always, promoting the use of Microsoft 365's e-discovery capabilities. So let's talk about the questions that most commonly come up. And so we had quite a few questions come in prior to the presentation. Just was looking at a little question there. I will call out to RGB. But let's start off with this question we had that comes in very often. It's on licensing. So I think at this point, a lot of people have kind of, figured out what licenses apply and what features are available in Microsoft. But let's kind of just do a quick overview. You basically have, level 1 licenses, level 3 licenses, and level 5 licenses. So generally with an enterprise, it'll be an E1, E3, and E5. And those are your general levels of licensing for Microsoft. Now, with the E1 license, you don't have any e-discovery capabilities. It all starts in the E3. So when you go to the E3 license, that's when you have the capability to preserve data in place, which is a really awesome feature, as well as, performing search and investigation and being able to export that data when you need it. When you move up to the E5 license, you have the full gamut of features and functionality, all the way from legal hold notification, as I mentioned before, to production. And so you're able to even, process data within the platform, review it, all within the Microsoft 365. And some may think, well, we had Stacey Abrams mention yesterday during the keynote at Legal Tech, how we are in a very risk-averse industry, and that, here we have a platform that's coming out and saying, hey, we know how to do review and processing. And so there may be some mistrust there, but, this platform was actually created by industry experts, and, I have complete confidence in the fact that, the standards that we need to uphold are actually upheld in this platform. So that's kind of, question licensing. It's in general, you need an E3. The custodians that you have need an E1 or above. But if you want to do review, every one of your custodians would need to have an E5. So that tends to be a little bit expensive for corporations. And so what we're seeing right now is that most people are sticking at that E3 level. So just being able to preserve data and search it and export it in Microsoft. And they're not quite going to that E5 license, which is a challenge I think that Microsoft is trying to address. Obviously, they want people to be using all the great functionality in their platform. We did have a question from the audience that says, if you could improve Microsoft 365 eDiscovery, what features would you like to see improved? RBG forever. So I would say that what I would like to see improved in Microsoft's platform is really the access to the processing and review capabilities within the platform. And so if we could just solve that licensing issue, then I think that would be a really great thing. And that's, we're talking to you, Microsoft. So let's go on to our next kind of topic, which is preservation. Questions come up all the time. So you can preserve data in Office 365. Well, what should I preserve? Should I do one hold for everything? Should I have multiple holds that are organized by matter? Should I be applying keyword filters to my holds or date range? All these great questions. What we really recommend is that when you're preserving data, you organize it by matter, so that when the matter is closed, it is easy to just remove that hold. And so you're not having to manage, what matters is this person on? You close the matter, you release the custodians, they're gone from the matter, but they may still be on other matters. So we definitely recommend to be, performing holds in that way. And we definitely recommend using date range searches. So if you have a date range, utilize it so that you're not preserving everything, because once you apply a preservation hold, your retention policy will no longer apply. That means the data will just be retained forever. So that's not wonderful, and that's risky. So definitely apply a date limit. And so that's really what I would recommend, by case and by date range per custodian. Another question we get a lot is, it really has to do a lot with our data privacy, that we're seeing, the regulations that we're seeing globally, like GDPR and CCPA and et cetera, et cetera. You can't always preserve data. So if you're in a company that is multinational, you may want to limit the ability to preserve data in the EU, for example. So is there a way to do it? Yes, there is a way to do it. With an E5 license, coming up on their roadmap, they're going to be integrating this into the functionality in Microsoft, or so rumor has it. And that should be happening sometime in the near future. Now, what about if you don't have E5, which most people don't? What do you do? Well, there are a few ways you can do it, and this can be attacked. This problem can be attacked by utilizing PowerShell scripts and what we call the Graph API. So detecting someone's region using the Graph API, and then utilizing PowerShell scripts to make that happen. So kind of technical as an answer, but if you need to have more information on that, just let me know. Okay, so let's see what else we have. What are the most common questions? So searching, this is a lot. Okay, so it's really tough to know, you really want to have that confidence to know that when you are placing that preservation hold, that your keywords are getting what you need, right? You want to have what you need, but you don't want to have, you certainly want to pay respects to proportionality. So let's talk about what's actually searched. So when I'm performing an e-discovery search, our email attachments searched. They most certainly are. Our OneNote attachments, embedded files searched? No, they are not. Does Microsoft search compressed zip files? Yes, they do. Do they search encrypted files? Yes and no. So encrypted files within Microsoft 365, I think, is going to be becoming more and more of an issue, since security is such a top of mind these days. So when Microsoft searches encrypted files, it's only for email. So many think that it's for OneDrive documents and SharePoint documents as well, but those files, if they are encrypted, they are not searchable. So that's a really important thing to know. You can decrypt these files on export utilizing something like a PowerShell script, and there's a few other methods to do that. But I think it's really important with searching to know exactly what it is and is not getting in order for you to perform the best types of searches that'll get you what you want. Okay, I'm just going to. All right, so export. Do I need to export unindexed items? So again, here we are with proportionality. Not everything's indexed in Office 365, Microsoft 365, such as your encrypted items that we just spoke about. And so should I export them? You most certainly should, because that is the only way you're going to get those protected documents. They may be key pieces of evidence, so you have to use your judgment on that, but we definitely recommend that you do exactly that. So finally, let's talk about Teams. Teams is something that's top of mind for most people these days. In-house counsel that is actually executing. Most corporations have actually moved to Teams, and so we're getting a lot. How do I work with Teams in Microsoft 365? And Rick's going to talk more about this later. But I think it's really interesting to know to understand how things are organized. And so with Microsoft 365, you are going to have documents that are organized both in SharePoint, and then you're going to have your messaging that's going to be in your mailbox. So the Outlook mailbox for the team is going to contain your IM message, and your documents will be in a separate SharePoint site. So when you're searching for Teams, you're actually going to, when you end up exporting data, you're going to have SharePoint loose files as well as a PST for your team. And so it's really kind of an interesting thing. And, one of the things that is a best practice, of course, is, again, don't use keyword searching here, in my opinion, because when I search for a keyword in Teams, what I'm going to find, I will get a hit, but it's going to be just in that particular post. And so it will not be embedded into a conversation that will enable me to kind of make any sense of the, value of this information. All right. And so how are we for time?
I think you're just about out, but it's awesome because you've gotten some great questions. And by the way, I apologize if we don't get to all the questions on the webinar, but we absolutely will address them afterwards. And if you have a question, you'll get a personal email with the answer. So Sarah, that was awesome. Thank you. Thank you very much. And so now we're going to transition to Alicia Hawley, Discovery Counsel and Chair of e-Discovery and Litigation at TAP.